All right, welcome to another episode here of the SNG Weekly Wrap-Up. It's August 9th, Sunday. We got a lot of sports going on, lots to talk about today. We've got the NHL. We've got NBA, or no NBA today. We're doing soccer and baseball. First and foremost, I'm sitting here in the Old Millionaire Studio. They still have up this statue of Regis Philbin, so RIP, the late, great Regis Philbin. Wanted to shout him out today, so I went over to his studio. Dan, where are you today?
Well, I mean, you'd be forgiven for thinking I was in the arid Saharan desert.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually in my London. This is my London flat right now.
Okay.
During the roughly, I think, 95 degree Fahrenheit temperatures here in London, which obviously is nothing big in Texas, but we don't happen to have air conditioning here in London. So, it's pretty hot, as you can see.
Yeah, I'm not one of those guys that's like, oh, you think 95's hot? Wait till you feel 110.
Yeah.
First of all, anything over 90 is hot. It's too hot. And then, like you said, with the AC, I mean, I'm lucky enough to have air conditioning here, air conditioning in my car. So it's not too bad. But I know you guys aren't as prepared for that over there. Off the top, I do just want to say congratulations to my sister Janine, her husband Michael. Their third son, Lucas James, born last night, 8 pounds, 10 ounces. So a big,
congratulations.
Big kid. Yeah, thank you. Looks just like his brother. So shout out for that. All right, Dan, let's jump into the sports while I try to figure out why these graphics are freaking out. And we'll start with NHL, NHL playoffs. The Eastern Conference is where we'll begin. Wrapped up with some big surprises. Canadians take down Penguins 3-1. Hurricanes take down the Rangers 3-0. Islanders over Panthers 3-1. And then we'll preview the Maple Leafs Blue Jackets Game 7. But let's start at the top. How did the Penguins lose again in the first round?
I know this is a big question. I mean, are we seeing the kind of the tail end of the Crosby dynasty with the Penguins? Yeah, quite a huge shock, really. And I don't know. That man, obviously, in the picture there, Carey Price, if you've got him in net, you're always going to stand a chance. But, yeah, I don't think there was many people that had the Habs kind of taking that series over the Penguins. Potentially, something that we had mentioned when we did our NHL preview is that thing about, the squads that are stacked with the older players. And
this graphics thing is driving me up the wall.
It's fine. It's cool. It's got some. It looks like the new guy in Warzone season 5.
Yes, yeah.
Stuff going around him. But yeah, the squads that are stacked with these older guys. So Chris Letang, Malkin, Crosby, Kunitz, I think is still there with the Penguins. So getting up into gear after such a lengthy break and not just rolling in from the regular season. I think maybe we've seen a bit of that there with them, but
you'd still kind of think the talent would overweigh. I mean, the Canadians were bad. Carey Price was great, but they're a bad team. They were a bad team all year. I don't know. It just seems. Do you think guys went into this? Obviously, the focus probably wasn't fully there, right? There's just so many other things to think about. I wonder if it's almost a relief for some of these guys to just get back to their families and kind of get out of the bubble. I'm not questioning the competitive nature of these players, but I think that's could at least be part of it.
Yeah, I think certainly if you're down in, I think it was 2-0, the final game of that, or game 4 of that series. And yeah, you do have to kind of think, once it gets to the third period in that game, you're 2 goals down, and you're thinking, right, I could have the next 3 or 4 months off, or I could slug it out for 2 of those months and then have like a month and a half off. There has to be something that creeps in the back of your head. And the thing is, it doesn't have to be the entire team thinking that, it only takes, 3-4 guys on the team, and suddenly, that's a huge difference at that level. So, yeah, I think there's probably something in that. But yeah, the Habs go marching on. We should mention the Hurricane Rangers series, a full sweep or a clean sweep. Probably my standout in that series was Sebastian Aho. We talked about Connor McDavid being, the best player in the league
Yeah.
and having a chance to shine on home ice during these playoffs. Well, Aho has certainly crashed that party.
Yeah.
The guy looks insane. I think we could see big things from the Hurricanes going forward in this tournament.
Yeah, and definitely shout out to my dad, my uncle Michael. How does it feel to be the only team that got swept in the playoffs? It's got to be tough for the Rangers. Yeah, no, the Hurricanes look good. I'm happy to see them go through. Not just because I dislike the Rangers, but this is a team that had showed a ton of promise in the regular season, and there's a lot of excitement about the Hurricanes for the first time in years. So you would have hated to see them just get kind of that sluggish restart. And obviously the Rangers were playing well heading into the break, but they're still in 11th place. And the Hurricanes kind of got a bad draw. They were one of the only teams that voted against this format just because they knew they were going to have to play the Rangers. Had beaten them 4 times already in the regular season. So I was happy to see the Hurricanes go through. I think they're, like you said, Aho's great. Just kind of a good young team. So. Yep, and who's their goalie again? You remember his name?
Off the top of my head,
Mrazek, is that? He's not Hurricanes, is he?
It could be Pet. Yeah, let me look it
up. Good research on my part. But the goalie looks really good as well. And you just think, like, it seems like every NHL playoffs we get introduced to a new name or a new player that kind of outshines the rest. Typically a goaltender. And this is a team that made it to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, so it'd be cool to see them make a little bit of a run again.
Yeah, Peter Mrazek, and
Peter
then they
Mrazek,
got
that's right.
Anton Forsberg as well.
Yeah,
on the bench. But yeah,
so Mrazek looked great last year. Kind of picked up where he left off. Now it's the thing of, do you wonder if they've had too much rest now? They haven't played in about a week. Will they be a little bit sluggish for their first game? Speaking of sluggish, good transition. Yeah, the Islanders-Panthers series. I hate watching the Islanders. They've went from being one of the most exciting teams in the league when they had Tavares to being one of the most boring defensive first teams under Barry Trotz. It's not my kind of hockey that I like to watch. I know it's kind of more your brand of hockey. But I think this Islanders team looks really good, and we've talked about it, but I think these teams that have already played are going to have an advantage moving forward, as they've already played in meaningful games while the other teams were playing for seeding. Do you think the Islanders have any shot at making it out of the first round? Or the second round, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard to, make those predictions at the moment because of this seeding pool thing and not knowing kind of necessarily what that first round is going to look like, or second round. I think 100% though they have a shot. I don't really think anyone that gets to that round has a great shot, because the stakes don't really change at that point. It's the same ice they're playing on all the way up to the potential final. And yeah, I think Barzal's one of the better young players in the league. I think if you dropped him into maybe some of the other if he was on the Lightning roster or something like that, this guy would be getting 100 points a season.
Yeah.
So I think it's nice they got him. They got a few vets there. Clutterbuck, I think, is still there. Let's have a look. So, they seem to be putting up a lot of points. I mean, in that last game, they had 8 different players that put up points. Josh Bailey, Matt Barzal, Anton Beauvillier, Brock Nelson, Jordan Eberle's there as well. Mm-hmm. So I think they're a solid team. Andy Green as well. Is he the former Devil?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you can't write them off, but it depends on who they get matched up against. And I think as well with the teams that are going to meet with these qualifying round teams, so the ones that have been playing the round robin to decide their kind of placement. I don't think we've yet seen those teams kick into full gear either.
Definitely not. Yeah, definitely not.
So it's so hard to judge at this point.
Yeah. But you did bring up a great point where any team that advances through has a great shot at winning, which is kind of the awesome thing about these playoffs. One other note I just want to make real quick on that series was Bobrovsky looked kind of bad again, and he got himself a massive contract last postseason. Obviously, pushed the Blue Jackets past the Lightning, almost shut them out for the series for as good of a team as that was. He got a massive contract in the offseason, looked pretty terrible in the regular season, and then relatively bad in the postseason as well. So that's one of those contracts that could end up kind of sinking a team when the NHL has such a tight salary cap. So just something to watch. Moving forward with the Panthers, finally we have Leafs Blue Jackets. They're playing tonight at 8 Eastern, I believe, which would be 1 a.m. GMT, 7 Central. So you'll probably miss that game, but this will be Game 5, the only Game 5 this first round. Do you think the Leafs make it out of, do they get to stay on home ice, or are they going, 10 minutes home?
I'm going to say they do make it through. I think coming off of that Game 4, being 3 goals down and rallying back
to
take it in OT. I hope that they can carry that through. That doesn't always happen, obviously. Like, teams all the time kind of have an amazing game to stay in something and then just through sheer exhaustion, fall at the final hurdle. And I'm sure that John Tortorella will be gearing his Columbus Blue Jackets up to do everything they can, pull every trick in the book out to prevent Toronto going through. But yeah, I'm going to put my 2 cents in and say that Toronto can rally on through to the next round tonight.
I've been brainwashed on Tortorella pretty much just from my dad when he was with the Rangers, and thinking that he's a coach that can do just about anything. So I'm going to actually put the Blue Jackets through here. I think other than that one stretch, I know they won, I think, Game 2 as well, but other than that one stretch, this series, it's been all Blue Jackets. And I think those kind of games can break some weaker-minded teams, but with a guy like Tortorella, you would think he'd be able to kind of regroup his guys. So yeah, I'll say Blue Jackets through, just to be a contrarian anyway. One other note I wanted to make on the Eastern Conference here: the Penguins. I guarantee you they will end up with the first overall pick in the NHL draft this year. And just revamp that franchise, get another Sid in the door. I'm not sure if you're familiar with how they did the NFL or NHL draft, but it's I think we had talked about it, but one of the most outrageous things we've ever seen. If you haven't heard what they did, just on draft night, they decided to make the first pick not go to the worst team in the league. They do a draft lottery. Instead, they decided to announce that it would be going to one of the teams that lost in the bubble in the first round. So right now you're looking at Penguins, Rangers, Panthers, winner or loser of the Leafs Blue Jackets. And then here, let me just go to the other graphic. Oilers, Predators, Wild, and Jets. So one of those 8 teams will be getting a first overall pick. And I would put big money on it being either the Oilers or the Penguins. As we know, the NHL draft lottery is always rigged. And I would expect one of those teams to get the first pick. So let's talk about the Western Conference. I wrote Eastern Conference on there because I'm an idiot. But we had Blackhawks defeating the Oilers 3-1, Coyotes over Predators 3-1, Canucks Wild 3-1, and Flames Jets 3-1. So just to reiterate, Rangers are the only team that got swept. I think probably the most surprising one here, I think we had called all of the other series, but the Blackhawks over Oilers, that's a shock. I can't say I understand how that happened. You mentioned it's exciting for hockey to have, Kane, Taves, Keith in a playoff series for sure. And I agree with that. And I think it will be exciting for the playoffs, but the rest of the team is so bad. How does McJesus allow this to happen?
Well, not he didn't allow it to happen easily, and I think maybe it just came down to a little too much pressure on him and Draisaitl in the end to carry that Oilers team into that first round. As you say, I think a Chicago team heading into the playoffs hot is a good thing. There's a huge fan base in Chicago, and I think as a city they'll really get behind the team heading into this thing. I know we'll get onto it later, but the Cubs are doing quite well this year. Is that right?
Yes. Yep.
And what about the Bulls?
Bulls are terrible. They didn't even make the NBA bubble. So yeah.
So they're like
50%
good,
sure.
50% bad.
And the White Sox. White Sox are good as well.
White Sox are playing well. Okay. But yeah, I think having a good Blackhawks team in the playoffs will be really good. And they, they got some superstars on that team, and they got some good young players. Dylan Strome has been really consistently good. Then they got vets like Brandon Saad on that team as well. And Corey Crawford seems to still be able to hold down a place in net as well for them. So, I think it's a great thing. But yeah, Connor McDavid, this guy's still elite. This guy is still doing, things that no other player in the league can do. Skating faster than any other player and having the puck stuck to his stick like glue. It's just insane to watch. I don't know if you saw the slow-mo of that one breakaway goal he had where he took it around Marta. And then, puts it high on Crawford on the backhand. It's just insane. So like you say, if the Oilers do end up with a first round pick, or with the first overall pick, sorry, it's likely to be this new guy, Alexis Lafreniere, I believe is he's touted as being the first pick this year. I think he's a centerman, so he probably wouldn't be playing on the same line as McDavid. But they would be seriously, contending for the Cup next year, I think, if they do get first round pick.
Well, I think you and I were talking the other day about where we think Lundqvist might land. For next year, we assume that he's done with the Rangers. Oilers makes a lot of sense. You let up 6 goals a game to the Blackhawks, and you're questioning how do you lose that series. It's probably defense and goaltending. So, as much as I don't want to, poop on Cam Talbot, I don't know that is he still? I think he's still a goalie.
It is still Cam Talbot, yeah.
Yeah, but it might be a good spot for a veteran to come in. I know they have a young goalie in their system that they're high on, but I guess he's probably a couple years away. So might be a good landing spot for Hank. We'll make our predictions on that at some point, probably once they actually do release him.
Correct. Mike Smith is there as well. I think Cam Talbot's not there, by the way. We'll correct that. It's Mikko Koskinen. Koskinen's been their goalie, I think, this year. Mike Smith, the former Coyote and U.S. national team goaltender.
Oh, that's right. Talbot's with the Flames. My bad. Hand up on that. That's fine.
I was going to say it'd be ironic for Hank to be coming back in to join Talbot because they played together at the Rangers. I think back in 2014. But yeah, like you say, if they get a good, top elite goaltender there, which Hank still is an amazing goaltender. He just doesn't have the team around him, I think, at the Rangers.
Exactly. So look out for that next year. Coyotes taking over the Predators. I think this was a series we both wanted to go in Arizona's favor. They're a fun team. This is another one that it sucks for the Predators. They ended up with a bad draw as the 6th seed, having to face Taylor Hall, Phil Kessel, and company. But I was happy to see the Coyotes go through. I think this could be a really dangerous team moving forward.
Yep, 100% agree. Kessel got on the score sheet, I think, in that game 4 as well. And yeah, like you say, he's at one point, I think, in his career, he was probably top 3, top 4 players in the league as well. So, and obviously he's been there, done that. I think he's got at least 2 cups to his name, maybe more.
I would have said, I can't remember if he got the first with the Penguins or not. I know he obviously has the one with the Penguins. I can't remember if he was there 2016-17 for the first of their back-to-back. You look that up.
Two time Stanley
so he
Cup
was
champion.
There for both. Cool.
Back-to-back with the Penguins, yeah.
But I like Kessel. He's a fun guy and, really good player. And I love Hall. And it's cool for the Coyotes that making that trade deadline deal for Hall, who likely won't re-sign with the Coyotes. They're probably not going to shell out the money for him. It's cool to see that kind of pay off in the sense that they're going to at least get one more series here with whoever they end up drawing. Next, you've got Canucks Wild. This is your team, the Canucks. So I'm sure you were happy to see them go through.
Yeah, and go through kind of in style in the end.
Yeah.
All the players that we kind of said would be good have been good. Elias Pettersson and Quinn Hughes, namely, kind of leading the line for them. Still think they're looking really strong and expect big things from them in the next round.
Yeah, me as well. Were they had the walk-off goal, right? Was that them or was that the
5-4 over the Wild, yeah
11 seconds in, right? I made it through the entire what do they call that, the intermission break. I made it through the entire intermission break, fell asleep as it was coming back to overtime, woke up 11 seconds later to have seen the goal. It was a cool ending to that series. And then finally you had the Flames beating the Jets. Again, seemed relatively easy. Jets are a good team, but I like what the Flames are doing. And out of these teams, the Canucks end up as the highest seeded, so they'll play the 4th seed. Flames will play the 3rd seed. But fun team, young team, fast team.
Very fun team. I think as a neutral non-hockey fan, if you're gonna tune in and watch one team, I would recommend going for a Flames game. Like you say, very fun to watch. Kachuk is just flying around the ice for 25 minutes a game, just causing havoc. Johnny Hockey is box office to watch. They've got some great puck playing defensemen there. Giordano being the standout one there. But yeah, I like watching the Flames. So hoping for a few good series with them still to come.
One of the coolest things about this playoff setup, obviously you have games going all day, which is amazing. But I don't typically get to watch a lot of Western Conference because they face off so late. Even in the playoffs, they're typically facing off really late. But this has allowed for some afternoon Western Conference games, which I've liked. So I caught a few periods of the Flame series, and like Dan was saying, if you don't have a team or you're just trying to get into hockey, there's no better team to watch. So we'll talk next week. The second round will have started. So we'll break down some of those games and just we'll have a obviously better understanding of who these teams are going to be facing with all the seeding once that plays out. But I think that second round starts on Tuesday. I could be wrong, but I believe it starts on Tuesday. So look out for that. All right, let's talk some baseball, and specifically let's talk about the Miami Marlins. I'm actually happy Joe's not here this week because he's always making fun of me for my short stint as a Marlins fan. But the Marlins had
when I first met you, you were a Marlins fan.
Yes, in London for sure. I tried it out, but we're back to the Yankees. But the Marlins are one of the most impressive storylines of the season so far. I don't know if you've heard much about what the Marlins are doing, but they had 18 players test positive for COVID. They essentially looked like they were going to be responsible for shutting down the league. Obviously now you have the Cardinals in the same boat, but they don't play for 1.5 weeks. They come back. They are playing with Joe and I on our podcast Spreadability. We did we did Miami Marlins player or 80s rock band member. He was just naming names, and I had to try to guess. That's how unknown these guys are that they were putting on their roster. A lot of guys that haven't played in a while, a lot of guys coming up from AAA. And somehow they go in, they face the Orioles, who the Orioles are they're not a very good team, but they were really hot heading into the series. And they sweep them, 4-game sweep. They beat the Mets Friday night, and then lost last night. But they have a 7-2 record. They're in first place in the NL East. I don't expect this to keep up. I think at some point, water finds its level, as people like to say. But I think at some point this is all going to even out. But if it does, I just want to throw this comparison out there and see what you think. If they do hold on to win the NL East, does it at all compare to Leicester City winning the Premier League?
Blimey. Probably not. I don't think it does.
I don't think anything does. I don't think anything does, but
Yeah, it was such a shock at the time. I just think no. I still don't. I don't think it would, but it would be incredible. It would still be incredible, but I mean, the likelihood is how many of those 18 guys are so they have COVID, but are they ill?
I actually don't think any of them are ill. So they should.
Yeah.
I know at least half of them have come back this weekend, and then they should start coming back after that. I think you got them. Perfect.
Yeah, I know. I'm so confused by the thing. I'm turning him that way. Yeah, there we go.
Looking good. Looking real good. I don't think any of them are ill, so I think they've avoided that. But yes, they should theoretically all be coming back at full strength. But it's a weird year, man. It's really, really strange with how COVID's going, how COVID's affecting the league. Like I just mentioned, the Cardinals now had to cancel another series. So they're looking at potentially more time off than the Marlins. I know a few guys on the Cardinals are looking at potentially just opting out now due to their concerns with COVID, which we're not gonna judge people for that for sure. But yeah, this is it's weird. It's going to be weird to see how it plays out. It seems like MLB has just been kind of scrambling this whole time, which is what the NFL looks like it'll be doing. But I know with the MLB, they have now put in stricter regulations where if players are caught out doing this or that, they basically get suspended, which is good. And they're looking at doing some kind of a bubble system for the playoffs. So I do think the season is going to end, and I do think we're going to have a full season in there, but I think it's going to be pretty tumultuous along the way. But I hope the Marlins continue to do well. It's cool. They're playing in the toughest division in probably all of baseball. So it's cool to see them winning some games, and hopefully they beat the Mets today. So another thing to rub in my dad's face. All right, the final topic for the day. We'll get to your team here, Fulham FC. They defeated Brentford 2-1 to advance to Premier League. We talked about this, I guess, 2 weeks ago. We were looking at the playoff bracket. We were all rooting for Fulham for you. Are you still – I know it was on Monday of last week, but are you still buzzing high on this?
Yeah, I am. It's an amazing win. It's a incredible achievement to bounce back into the Premier League at the first, the first attempt, basically, having gone down last year. It was the match itself was quite a cagey affair. I don't think it was a good match to watch if you're not a football fan, or even if you are a football fan and you have no kind of rooted investment in either team, because it basically played out as a no score, 0-0 over the 90 minutes, and then Fulham went on to win 2-1 in added time. So yeah, that 30 minutes of added time was amazing to watch. It was, great football end to end. But yeah, the first 90 was very, very tactical, very cagey. For me, I'm probably on the pessimistic end of Fulham fandom, where, we went up 2 years ago and were just battered for a year. and it wasn't enjoyable. Ticket prices were like 50% more. It was about 100% harder to even get hold of any tickets in the first place. The stadium's full of tourists, and that sounds bad. And I'm certainly one of those people that I hate it when people say, oh, you know, do you actually support that team? Why are you there? And stuff like that. So I'm not bothered about, you know, as long as they're there to support Fulham at the time. But yeah, you get all these factors come in that are part of being in the Premier League. It is a different type of football, and your club DNA changes whether you like it or not when you go from the Championship to the Premier League.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, there's an air of caution and skepticism about me with this promotion. But having said that, let's talk in a year's time, and you know, if we can survive 1 year in the Premier League, then we're fine. It's just that first season up is so difficult to survive. And yeah, we'll really, you know, have our work cut out, but amazing, you know, effort to actually get promotion, especially in this season of all seasons where, you know, we had this big break from March through to, you know, the end of June. So, yeah, to actually kind of hold the squad together in that time and keep that focus on that one goal is really impressive.
Yeah, I'm happy for you. As a person who typically roots against my friends' teams, I was actually rooting for Fulham, so happy to see that happen, and hopefully they will survive next season and stay up for a while now. Maybe they'll have a Leicester City type season, and
well, that's it. It's I think at this point it kind of comes down to recruitment and whether we can kind of buy smart, because there's a lot of teams in the Premier League that don't spend crazy amounts of money, but they get in good players that fit the Premier League style and compete highly at the Premier League level. Unfortunately, when we last came up, we didn't recruit in that way. We kind of did this panic buying basically at the last minute, and we bought in about 10 guys and none of them gelled together. And that was the problem last time. So if we can kind of buy smart and bolster our team in key positions that we actually need reinforcements, then, you know, maybe we can, you know, a Leicester at this stage would be us finishing mid-table. You know, that would be if we finished 12th in the league, that would be an incredible result. But yeah, I mean, I guess getting on to the points that we got here, is Joe Bryan elite? Allah is Joe Flacco elite?
Yeah, I was going to say kind of the Joe Flacco.
Joe Bryan was the unlikely hero at Wembley on Monday. He scored both of Fulham's goals. For those that you don't know, this guy is our left back. So he plays on the left side of the defensive four. And yeah, I mean, he's not renowned for his goal scoring. He's been a really consistent pro for us, and you know, he's certainly, you know, a guaranteed starter. But yeah, by no means did anyone expect him to be the guy grabbing a brace to send us into the Premier League. And to be honest, both his goals were top draw. First goal was a clever free kick that kind of caught the goalie off the line, and then for me, the second goal was even better. It was a forward run, a little 1-2 with our top man Mitrovic, and then cut inside and finished like Thierry Henry. So yeah, Joe Bryan for the Championship, he's elite. For the Premier League, he'll be solid. He'll be a good player. He'll hold his place in our team, and hopefully we'll sign him up for a good 2 or 3 year contract.
What are your what was your stress level like thinking that this might go to penalties?
Not too high. Yeah, not too high. Like in a way, it was strange because I got those reservations about being in the Premier League in itself. You know, it would have been horrible to lose, and I didn't want to lose. But at the same time, I had the excuse cocked and loaded of, well, at least, you know, we don't have to go and fight for our lives in the Premier League every week. And so, yeah, I think having that in the barrel, and being able to watch it from home, I think made a lot of difference to the stress levels. Obviously, last time we were in the playoff final, I was there at the stadium, kind of living it in the moment, and that is, no matter what anyone says about watching sports at home versus watching sports in an arena, it is a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
So yeah, my stress levels were not too bad, and I think penalties, we would have stood a good chance. Our goalkeeper is been a pretty good shot stopper this year, Marek Rodak. But yeah, we move on to point 2 here, is why should US fans support Fulham? And actually the answer is a lot of them do already. We probably have one of the stronger ties with US sports and the US in general than any other team. So we were, we're owned by Shahid Khan, who is the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. His son, Tony Khan, is the sporting director at Fulham. Seems a good guy. He's sort of all in. Also runs All Elite Wrestling, AEW,
Yes, yeah.
Which does a lot of stuff with Chris Jericho, and I think they're trying to establish themselves as a competitor to WWE.
Were they the owners, and did he run the team last time that they made it up?
He did run the team, yeah, last time that we made it up. They acquired the team probably around about 2012, I think. Okay. From Mohammed Al Fayed, who is the guy that owns Harrods. And yeah, so that, that is that link there to begin with. We've also had some amazing American players throughout the years. Clint Dempsey recently, who, in my opinion, is probably the best US footballer that we've had ever. We've had, I think Landon Donovan had a couple of seasons, or MLS off seasons playing for Fulham on loan. Brian McBride is kind of a Fulham legend. Carlos Bocanegra. There's a long list of American players that have played at Fulham, and of course, currently we've got our star centre back Tim Ream is also American. So there is an American core at the team, and I think that's something that will continue. It's a shame we don't have Christian Pulisic. He plays sort of 2 miles down the road at Chelsea, but I think they're a really good team to get behind if you're an American fan and you're looking for maybe your first Premier League team to kind of get on board and support. I would go with Fulham. Also, I think we've had Will Ferrell has come to watch games in recent years, and countless, other stars. I think a lot of the Jags have probably been down to games when they played in London as well. So,
all right, you've convinced me.
You've
convinced me. I'll take them on. I'll take them
on. Yeah. And then lastly, can Fulham survive in the Premier League? As I mentioned, 12th place would be an absolute miracle. I would take 17th place in the league right now if I could. It's tough. It's really tough. You're playing Liverpool, Man United, Chelsea, Tottenham, Arsenal. There's like 10 teams that would take on any team. 10 teams in the Premier League that would give Barcelona a really tough game, 7 days a week. So, we can survive, but it's probably a 50-50 as to whether we do. So every point is important next season.
Yeah, I'll be throwing some money on Fulham to stay up. Just good vibes. Good vibes.
Good vibes only.
If you want to throw some money on Fulham to stay up, head over to sngnetwork.com. We've got all reviews on every online sports betting site in the United States. So how about that for a transition? Go check out SNG Network. They are a presenting sponsor. That wraps it up for our show this week. Did you have any last sports things you want to touch on, or have you exhausted your sports knowledge for the week?
I think we're good. Bruins are playing Caps at the moment. End of the second period, Caps are 1-0 up. Let me just check if it was that man, Alexander Ovechkin, that scored the goal.
I'm going to say it was, I'll say Backstrom. I'll say Backstrom put one in.
Okay, I'm going to load it up now. Bear with me. It's asking me to sign in to NHL TV.
All right. Well, you're finding that. I will say, hopefully, Joe will be back with us next week. It's just a 1 week vacation. We apologize for missing the show last week. I was having some computer issues, and without a computer, it's impossible to do anything in this world these days. Go check out our show, also on SNG Network. If you just subscribe to the channel, you can check out our show, Only COD Can Judge Me. We've been putting out great episodes every week. Go check out our one with, what is it? Nostalgic? Is that what you go
Nostalgic, yeah.
Nostalgic. We may or may not have gotten our first win. So go check that out. Who was it that scored?
The goal was scored by TJ Oshie.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, just a rebound. Pretty scrappy goal, but yeah, TJ.
The guy that I kind of always forget is still on the Cavs.
And he's a good player for them as well.
He's great, and they have Kovalchuk. Should be a fun rounds with them. All right, Dan, thank you as always for being on the show, being a great co-host. R.I.P. Regis. We'll end it on that. R.I.P. Regis.